Good evening, Jill here, and I'm here to tell you a story this evening about the wise men. And during these sessions in the early part of this year, we're going to be thinking of colours that will help us to remember some stories. So the two colours that I'm going to be thinking about today is yellow and gold. And the reason for that is because the story that I'm relating is a story about the wise men. So the two colours relate to yellow, which is the colour of the star that the wise men followed, and gold, which is the colour of the gift that the wise men brought. Now, the wise men that we hear about, which is in Matthew chapter 2, the first few verses, the wise men are a bit of a mystery. We don't know a great deal about these wise men. In fact, I'll tell you the truth, we don't even know that there were actually three of them. What we do know is they brought three gifts, and I know if I was to ask you, you'd probably be able to tell me it was gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But actually, the Bible doesn't say there were three wise men, so there could have been more than three, but they did bring at least three gifts. The other thing that's a bit of a mystery is how far they came from. We don't know. That the Bible says they came from a long way away, they travelled a long way, but they don't specify where they came from. The thought is that they came from a place near Babylon. Now, if that was the case, it was a long, long walk, a long, long journey from Babylon to Bethlehem. In fact, it's quite possible that it could have taken them over a year to get there. They could have walked 1,000 miles. That's a huge distance. In fact, it's even likely that by the time the wise men reached Jesus, actually found Jesus, that Jesus could have been 1 or even 2 years old, which is incredible, really. He could well have been living in a house with his parents in Bethlehem, and his parents who are Mary and Joseph, absolutely right. So they travelled a long, long way to find Jesus. The wise men brought very valuable gifts with them, and as I know you know them, gold, frankincense and myrrh. I'm sure you know what gold is, but in case you didn't know, frankincense and myrrh, in the days of Jesus, they were used as perfumes, and they were also used to help heal people. So they were very, very precious gifts that these wise men brought. But the important question to ask is why? Why did these very wise, very intelligent men travel over a year, hundreds and hundreds of miles, to visit the child Jesus? And the answer is because they believed that Jesus would bring peace to the country and would bring forgiveness to the country, to the world. They believed that Jesus was our answer, so that when we did something wrong, we could ask Jesus and he would forgive us. And you know what? That's exactly the same nowadays. 2,000 years later, as we still celebrate Christmas, as we still remember the birth of the baby Jesus, it's exactly the same. Jesus came down to this earth to bring peace and to bring forgiveness. Jesus wants us to live a life that was like him. Jesus wants us to be good and kind. He wants us to be helpful. He wants us to think of other people before ourselves. But you know what? We don't always do that. We all mess up sometimes. We all say or do things we shouldn't. But we know that Jesus tells us that if we come to him and we ask forgiveness, he will always, always forgive us if we genuinely mean it. So just to finish, remember, the yellow was the colour of the bright shining star that the wise men followed. The gold was the gift, the very, very precious gift that the wise men brought. But let me just tell you one other thing. Even though gold is worth so much, and even today it's worth so much, do you know what the Bible says in the New Testament? It says that the thing that makes Jesus happiest is not us bringing expensive gifts of gold, but bringing ourselves. Jesus says what makes him the most happy is if we tell Jesus we love him and that we try to do the best for him, the best things we can do to be the best person. That's what is very precious to Jesus. Take care. God bless.